Excellent. Well, Randy, as far as site selection, the process itself goes, can you give us a snapshot of the traditional process and criteria that were important to owners, let's say in the last 5 to 10 years, and contrast that with the changes you're observing as you do your work now?
Yeah, when you say owners, you're talking about the end users of data centers. The process, I mean, everything about data centers has changed so much in the last few years. The site selection process is really some of the fundamental things that have changed are the choices that are out there. Lease versus own, build versus wholesale. There's so many more choices that are available today that affect the end use, your future flexibility, how you deploy your capital. That there's a lot of things that are different today. I mean, the traditional was, we need to own it. Let's find a risk-free piece of land and let's build our own data center. It's really much more complex than that today, and we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what the right answer is for our clients when going through that process. But the environment is very different today than it was a few years ago. Interest rates are very low, cap rates are very low, and we're seeing a lot of organizations looking to monetize their data center portfolios right now and take advantage to redeploy that capital somewhere else. But as it relates to site selection, I think we've got more robust, more concerned over a whole wide variety of risks than we ever were before.
Steve?
So some of the things that the average company they'd have a checklist, and Randy I think has a checklist from some of the RFPs that I've seen. Natural disasters, they want to stay away from the hurricane flood, out of a flight path. What is the proximity to headquarters? Are your IT people server huggers? Do they need to see lights, or does that not matter? People are chasing cheaper power. Some companies have corporate stewardship policies, and they're looking for renewable resources. So some companies are going down to North Carolina and putting in solar panels. We've seen a couple of companies go to Buffalo, which is not really a hotspot for data centers, but they're seeking hydropower. Compliance, they're, at least in the US, banks have to be within a certain range, they have to be outside of a certain range. There are security issues. Companies look for dual electric grids, they look for fiber. A lot of companies are looking for an airport, so if they have to fly to wherever they're going to go, they know it's 2 hours away. So they're looking for a major airport. So that's why Dallas, Chicago, Santa Clara, Northern Virginia are all hotspots at this point because people can get there easily. One of the sneaky things right now is tax incentives. A lot of the counties are really going out and seeking the data center as a rateable. And so they're finding ways to give companies sales tax relief and also relief on all kinds of equipment. And so that's a big lure. And in Northern Virginia, Loudoun County is on fire because of that. We look at sort of workforce, and a lot of people at this point are shopping around for free air cooling. And so that's driving a lot of business at this point as well.
I mean, every data center has its own profile, it has its own function. People sometimes like to group them all together, but they do very different things. And really understanding what that end need, really understanding what the IT utility is, and the risk profile for that site is really what helps shape that checklist of what are we really looking for, what are the tolerances of risk that we can face in different areas. And it's really, site selection becomes an exercise in evaluating compromise. We think we know what the ideal is, but you look around at the reality of where our host of data centers are located, and you'll find a lot of them located in not the ideal place. I mean, in the office space, next to hazards, and there's a lot of reasons for those as well. But at the end of the day, it's really about understanding the risk and doing what you can to avoid those risks or engineering around it as much as you can.
I think one important thing too is time to market. We have a lot of clients that are looking at different sites, and sometimes their decision on going to a certain site is really just that site is available in terms of getting a data center up operating a lot quicker than say other sites. So those can be existing buildings, those can be buildings that were used as say office buildings before, industrial buildings before, that they could very easily convert and get an operation up and running within 6 to 9 months versus a traditional greenfield that could take a lot longer than that. So we're seeing a lot of that where clients are looking to get something going very, very quickly, and often their site decision is really based on time to market and how fast they could actually get up and running.
One of the other things that I failed to mention was sort of the edge, and that's become a big thing for content providers. They want to be closer to their customers, so that way when we download Netflix or we're engaged in some application that's in the cloud, it's much quicker because we have a very short attention span, and if you don't click right away, the likelihood is they'll lose that sale, or you'll get bored watching Netflix things spin around and you're going to flip to another channel. And so the reality is that's become a major driver for a lot of the content companies in site selection.